Gee, Steve, what are we going to do tonight?
Same thing we do every podcast. Tell him how we sees it.
It's hard to come to terms with a violent nature, hating the power it has over us.
I was raised to believe in grace, that we can be touched by the divine and transformed into a better person. So if you say to me that you're a new man, I say fine. But you should know I was also raised to believe in retribution. So if you step out of line, I will be there.
Here we go. It's How We Sees It, episode 282. This week we're coming to you with Daredevil, Born Again, Season 1.
Season 0.5, or is it Season 1? Season
No,
1?
they actually changed it to a full Season 1. Originally, it was going to be a half and half, and then it got changed to, I don't know, well...
We'll talk
I don't
about
know
the changes that went through, but
I mean, I was going to say we'll probably discuss it.
Yeah, well, they're even saying originally this was going to be a one thing, two-parter season breakup, and now they're saying Season 1, Season 2. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows.
All right.
But it's the first nine episodes. 9 episodes of a 17-episode rehash. Not rehash. It's because it's not a redo. It's a carryover, but changes from the Netflix Daredevil series that had 3 seasons. Now it's on Disney, and we'll get into it because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of the same characters, which is cool. Not a lot of the same writers apparently, but we'll get into all that. I'm Noah, your main host here on How We Sees It, and I can't do this by myself. So every week I got my main man Steve here with me.
I like that introduction. That's nice. That's nice. Not how you doing, Steve, but that was a nice lead-in. Appreciate it. It's always great to be here with you. So,
people ask me about doing this podcast, and they're like, are you making money? I'm like, nah, we're not making money. I'm like, but this is my turn. This is my time to hang out with my best friend. It's like we used to do it, in person when we were closer, and before COVID changed everything, and we got older and busier. But this is our chance to hang out, and so I enjoy that. And then we also from time to time bring in other people. And Nina is now here with us tonight. How you doing, Nina?
More than just time to time.
I'm doing
She's
pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, she's a regular. When I mean time to time, about every 3 weeks, she's here at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then. And you started with us with the MCU, which was a lot of fun, and this is kind of continuing that. Missing tonight is our boy. He's Bo. He's got some stuff he's got to take care of. Kind of sad because I know he's a Daredevil fan, so I'm sure he would have had some great takes. So it is what it is. He'll be back with us though next week when we're going to get back into Harry Potter. We are now getting into the 7th book. And the 7.1 movie, or the first half of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So that'll be next week. I'm looking forward to that because it just, we started off with fun-loving little kids and Christmas and all this, and now we're just into the shit.
And just like Bo is tonight, we should give him a moment to. Like, Bo, you're listening to this podcast probably before next podcast. So take some notes. And then at the beginning of next week's episode, we'll give you an opportunity to interject with some of your comments about what we talk about tonight. Just since you're a big Daredevil fan, I think it's the least we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I remember from the Netflix ones, he was into it and stuff. And, I think a lot of people are fans of that. Charlie Cox was definitely perfect casting for this among some others.
It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. The Netflix series were incredible. And I remember us going through all those. And the thing that makes me go back is I wanted to go back and look into the cocktails that we did just to see how close we are.
Did you?
No, I wanted to. I was going to, but then work got in the way. But I was just curious, as I was like, oh, I wonder what we ended up doing and stuff like that, because I know we were into it. It was new, it was kind of fun, fresh. But I'm really interested to hear what you guys come up with tonight's episode. I know I racked my brain again and again, like I always do, and it came to me last night. This time, a lot faster than it normally does. So I'm curious to see what you guys came up. We'll start with you, Nina.
Well, as usual, I went to my favorite bartender, Google, and just put in devil cocktails, and one that kept coming up was the Red Devil cocktail, which is pretty powerful. I actually had to go to my neighbor, Dan. Shout out. Also, he's a listener. He lent me his bottle of Maker's Mark, so I got some really nice whiskey in this.
Oh, nice.
But this is a crazy cocktail. It's got you take 1.5 ounces of vodka, 1.5 ounces of gin, 1.5 ounces of peach schnapps, and 1.5 ounces of whiskey, 2 ounces of triple sec, 2 ounces of orange juice, and just enough grenadine to make it a nice red color. Shake it all up in a cocktail shaker, and with some ice to cool it off. And the recipe said pour it into a 10-ounce glass, but I poured it into a martini glass because I have work in the morning, and I will drink the rest of it over the weekend when I don't have work in the morning. So
I was going to say that's a Noah class cocktail as far as the.
I'm going to say I would we'd make it through like the first episode, and I would you'd get a weird sound on my end because I'd fallen asleep on the keyboard. So
no, when you were talking about that, I literally was going, oh yeah, that's my octane. I like that. That's kind of I would have went for the whole thing and maybe two. Yeah, that's great.
Peace. Yeah. So cheers.
Nice.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, funnily interesting, funny too.
Yeah, it's got a nice orange flavor. So
yeah, I would say with the orange juice in the
actually very pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was expecting it. I figured it would either taste pretty good or like paint stripper. So I'm happy to say it tastes pretty good. So
nice. That's the better of the two potentials.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm gonna go because I know Steve always brings it home with we like to have him run cleanup on this because he always brings the thunder. And I'm probably going to poo-poo the show a little bit with my drink. So I went with something I found and I was looking for different things, and this one I came across, and I was like, oh, that actually works out really well. And then I started reading the write-up for it, and I was like, oh, this really hits on a lot of levels. So I'm doing a cocktail called a Fallen Angel. And works on multiple levels, not only just because that's the actual name of the cocktail. I didn't change it at all. I did it verbatim for what they put down. But it works on talking about the story, where Daredevil, he has his I don't know if the right word is ethos, but his morality, and he doesn't kill. He's kind of like Batman. Yeah. He says he doesn't kill, but beats the fuck out of people that I'm pretty sure some people just die from the beatings they take.
And he throws Poindexter off a 2-story building.
Well, that was what broke him, and that's where he fell. Mentally was because he kind of broke his rules of like not killing, where he probably could have killed him, throwing him off the thing. But so it has that into it, but it also. The devil was a fallen angel if you go into the biblical terms and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool too. So it's got that devil tie in. But then also when I was reading the description, it talked about what is a fallen angel. It is a mythical creature that is held in high esteem, but due to folly, they never reach their potential. At least not the ones trusted upon or thrusted upon them. And so to me, that kind of described this season.
It's also, the title Born Again is all about rising up from the ashes from this fallen angel standpoint. So I think it kind of lends itself to that same thing.
Yeah. So there was a lot to do with that and I'll get into why I think this season didn't reach its potential.
Interesting.
But so this has 2 ounces of a gin. Let me get back into my recipe part of it. 2 ounces gin, 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon right off my tree in front, half ounce of cream de mint. I think a lot of people use the clear cream de mint. I have the green, so my cocktail came out really green, so the color didn't really match up as well. And then a half ounce of simple syrup, and 2 dashes of an aromatic bitters. Throw that in a cocktail shaker, shake it up to get cold, and pour it into your cocktail. It said a cocktail coupe glass, and I'm not sure exactly what that is. I have some pretty glasses, so I poured that in there. I usually use rocks glasses or Collins glasses, so I was like, I'm not exactly sure what a coupe glass is.
It's more like a brandy glass, so but
yeah,
that's close. Yeah,
kind of. But so yeah, it's got a nice minty smell to it, so we'll see what it tastes like.
Drum roll.
That's it. That's an interesting. It's kind of like it's like if you put a little bit of mint on a lemonade and sipped it.
Sure. Okay.
It's got that's really the gin doesn't come out really much at all. The lemon and simple syrup really kind of give you that sweet lemon flavor, and the mint just covers it up as if you garnished a lemonade with mint. So not bad. I would rather have a little more boozy drink personally. Like I think maybe pulling back the lemon, maybe pulling back the sweetener, and adding maybe gin and maybe something else. This could also go really well with a whiskey. And I almost did that with I have the Angel Wings, or no, what is it? Angel. There's that really fancy Angel's Envy.
Okay.
I was going to do it with that, and I was like, oh, I'll just go with this straightforward. So that's my drink, the Fallen Angel, and I'll get into more of why that goes with this season as we get into the spoiler part of talking about the season.
Okay.
All right, nice. Steve, what do you got?
Well, speaking of spoilers, in the last episode of this season, Wilson Fisk pops the head of Commissioner Gallo, like a... Well, he just kind of crushes it between...
Like a grape.
Yeah. Yeah, or in my case, I chose to crush an egg. To me, it had like a nice skull around it, and it seemed fitting. And I couldn't get it out of my head because, it's almost comical and really disgusting. And it does, the violence in this series almost looked like it was trying to match the standards of seasons 1 through 3, but it always came across as a little bit corny because it never quite resonated the same way. So when this happened, I think I was just kind of like my jaw dropped, like, my God, that's so disgusting. But I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit. But it stuck in my head because, when you see a guy's head get popped like a grape, or like in my case, an egg, that's what I kept envisioning. I decided to make a cocktail with that in mind. So gotcha. I went with a flip cocktail. Flip cocktail is the style where you add a whole egg, yolk and the just the entirety of the egg. So I called it a Kingpin Flip. And I started with a cask strength bourbon. This is a bourbon actually that's bottled here in Petaluma called a Moylan cask strength bourbon, 114 proof. So got some little strength there. I got a Gallo Cabernet Sauvignon for Gallo, Commissioner Gallo. I thought that was kind of fitting to actually back up my drink with a little bit of a wine from the commissioner himself. And it's got 3/4 ounces of the Gallo Cabernet Sauvignon, half ounce of Terminato syrup, a 2-to-1 ratio. So that's a little richer than a normal simple syrup. Added again a whole egg, and I went to town. I actually crushed it I crushed it and dropped it in. And I got to tell you, even sideways, it is not easy to crush an egg.
No.
I tried really hard.
It is 100% not. That actually is a challenge for people most of the time.
I'm not talking top to bottom. I'm talking side to side, even side to side.
No, I know, even that.
I didn't want to like it to splatter all over the place, so I wasn't giving it its all. But I ended up having to crack it just a touch, and then I smashed it over there and dropped it in, shells it all. Added 2 dashes of blackstrap bitters and shook it up really good, dry shook it, and then I add some ice, shook it again. And then in order to get rid of all the shells, I double strained it into a martini glass. I thought that was nice and sophisticated for Kingpin. And I garnished it with a little bit of a wine swirl on top. And I tell you, this is a delicious drink. It's like a milkshake, and it's really nicely balanced. So this is my Kingpin Flip, and I've got my Gallo wine that I might top off. You know, I got a nice sophisticated glass like Fisk would probably drink. Fisk
he drinks a lot of wine in this.
So I thought it was fitting that I could just kind of sip on some wine after I'm done with this cocktail.
Nice.
But yeah, I got a kick out of actually smashing the egg. I felt I was.
Well, I mean, eggs are designed to hold up. So you not being able to crush it, do not take that as a hint that you're not strong, because they're designed to. I mean, there's strongman challenges just to do that, to crush an egg with your bare hands.
I remember as a kid, it was always like it's impossible to crush an egg from top to bottom if you put it into the palm of your hand and try to do that. I never considered that it would be tough to do it, you know, this. Now I was doing it with my fist, like Wilson Fisk does, you know, trying to smash it.
So that also makes it difficult. The way you can do it with a single hand is you actually have to put single pressure with one finger to kind of squeeze.
Yeah, kind of a squeeze. That makes sense. Oh. But I had fun, and I didn't make a mess. I had to wash my hands after I smashed it, though.
I think.
What?
Steve froze. I still have Nina, so it's not me this time.
I got everyone.
Yeah.
But I could pause it.
Yeah, you totally froze on my end.
Are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, hearing you now. You're
okay. I haven't lost you guys.
Okay. Well, and you're the one picking up the videos or the audio, so it should all be there.
I got no problem. Yep, we're still recording. Just have a little bit of a awkward conversation for a few moments while we were trying to figure that out. So,
Awesome. So yeah, the eggs are what they are. That sounds really good. Me with eggs in a drink, I'm not sure if I could do it. That's good on you. A wine milkshake is kind of an interesting thought. Essentially. It's kind of what it sounds like you put together. But I mean, it's just a grape milkshake if you think about it.
It's funny. It almost tastes like a chocolate milkshake, even though there's nothing chocolatey in here. But maybe the turbinado syrup and the blackstrap bitters kind of add a little bit to that.
Blackstrap bitters will kind of do that. Yeah.
Because that's like a molasses, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nice. All right. Well, let's get into this. So, Daredevil in Netflix season 3 left off in that was a while ago. In
7 years, right? Yeah.
Was it only 7? It seemed like so much longer than that. But
that long?
That's what
I had the exact opposite thing that I just.
Oh, see, to me, it seemed like it'd been forever. But I mean, we got, interestingly enough, we had a couple cameos from Charlie Cox as Daredevil. We had him in the She-Hulk miniseries, and we also a quick Matt Murdock essentially in Spider-Man.
True. Although that was when they were choosing, they had different writers for this whole series. I don't think they had actually greenlit Born Again for the Spider-Man.
No, I didn't. But so we got to see, we knew he was still around.
Right.
And then Kingpin, Vincent
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio. I looked at his name and then I'm like, it screwed me up. He just, it's funny too. Like I'm looking at his picture. He looks like a childhood friend of mine, Jacob. And so it threw me off. Anyways, he also showed up in quite a lot of things. He's in one of my favorites in the Hawkeye miniseries. He also shows up in Echo quite a lot. So he had, they're out there. They're being shown. So this is them throwing it back into it. And we alluded to it early that this had some changes and major changes. It went through a whole storyline shown, and they said, nah, that's not what we want, and got new showrunners and new writers and reshot a ton of it, and pushed it back. And I can tell with the story that we got that this is a hodgepodge of original story.
Yeah.
I don't think it works the way it is.
So episode 1, 8, and 9 were all completely new. The 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, were kind of recycled footage that they tried to have to craft the story because they didn't want to have to go back and reshoot everything. So it was a way of trying to, kind of fit a square peg into a round hole. How do you make that work? I thought they did okay, but yeah, you're right. You can tell that it's broken. I mean, this is supposed to be now season 4. But
there's some. Go ahead, Nina.
I mean, you can sort of tell like it's like 3 different stories, really.
It's almost even more. Not just 3, but it has so much more to it. It's like I think originally, they have a character in here, Muse or Bastion, who kind of he shows up for some. He's the super villain. He's almost not that he has powers, but he's in that comic book. Villain, wears a costume and does some real creepy shit, and has some fighting prowess. That's the word. And that was a big part, I think, of the original stuff. But then when you get to what they showed here and how it kind of played out, it's almost like cut it all out or give us a bigger, better, longer story on it. It seemed like such a nothing in the long run.
I mean, I mean, you had like the Kingpin and Bullseye story.
Yeah.
We're going to spoil all this, by the way. With him killing Foggy. And
horrible choice too. Horrible choice for the story, I think, personally.
Well, the thing is though, I wondered if they weren't going to have Foggy at all, because as Steve said, you had episodes 2 through 7, so you have the story of the White Tiger.
Yep.
Was it the White Tiger? And then Muse. And then we snap back to Kingpin and Bullseye again.
Yeah.
And
which apparently Bullseye wasn't even part of the original, like he was brought in.
Yeah, well, they had to shoot some new stuff because they had another person cast as Fisk's wife, and they brought her back when they rewrote it, and so they probably had to reshoot all the scenes with her and tie that thread of a storyline through the other episodes. But they still didn't want to scrap all those previous episodes, so they just tried to figure out how to work them in.
Yeah, and it wasn't really focused. I think because they had and Punisher was in there too, and
he wasn't supposed to be as big as a part as he was too.
The writer they brought in from when they redid it came from Punisher. That was his. That was what he. I don't know if it was season 2 or both, but that was something that the new writer that came in to rewrite the whole thing from scratch, working with the footage that was already shot, was from Punisher past. So he probably leveraged getting John Bernthal back in. I don't know if John Bernthal was scheduled to be in the first iteration of Born Again or not.
He was. He was in the first episode that he shows up, where
episode 4, I believe. Yeah.
But
that could have been a scene that was added after.
No, it wasn't. No? Okay. And here's and this is why I know, and this is, I shouldn't say this is why I know. This is why I've heard that we can tell that was original compared to the rest of it. In that one, he's very scruffy and kind of like disheveled looking. And when they went to do the reshoots, he was in the middle of doing the Accountant 2 filming, and that's why he looked all cleaned up. And everybody's like making jokes like, Karen calls him, and all of a sudden, Karen's showing up, so he has to shave and get a haircut. But what it really was is because the reshoots were happening during the same time as the Accountant 2, so he couldn't really change his look too much. For the scruffiness. So that's kind of where that came from. And so that was what I understand the original original story had him in there as kind of like that voice, that discussion, which which is one of the better, talking points. Like people,
absolutely, it's one of the highlights of if that was written for the first season. Absolutely, one of the highlights of that. Really a good exchange.
That's what I was going to say. It's like as a whole, it's kind of all over the place, but there are some individual scenes and kind of fragments of storylines, which are really, really good and really involving. And I just wish, whatever happened that they had to, completely. I heard they fired everybody and just started over from scratch.
That's kind of what I heard. Yeah. No,
I guess
I wish they hadn't done that, but I can sort of see where they were going.
I don't know. I'm kind of glad they did that. Fired everyone, even if that's what we get is this kind of monstrosity. At least it wasn't a watered down version of what was kind of between the cracks. Because the supporting cast that surrounded Matt Murdock, other than the originals from season 1 to 3, were so dull and lifeless and boring. I didn't find any of them interesting, and that's what's so good about Daredevil, the Netflix one, is all the supporting cast is so enriching to the story and draw you in.
So we have the original idea story, right? It was going to be a more courtroom, lot of Matt Murdock, not a lot of Daredevil, and I think what happened was Disney had heard the people talk about Moon Knight, and they heard people like me shouting, "Hey, put more Moon Knight in your Moon Knight show." They're like, "There's not enough Daredevil in this Daredevil show," so they went back and said, "Okay, we got to get him back in the costume." And so that's kind of they tried to figure it out and do some of the courtroom drama that they had. Now we had Camar de los Reyes played the White Tiger, and he was incredible as the White Tiger, character. Very, very moving and very a good part of the story.
It was a good emotional drive. It was enough to kind of make you care about someone that you wanted Matt to get off.
So here's part of the reason that story died off a little bit. For one, his was it his sister? I can't remember in the story. It's such a small bit, but that she's the one that he saves that Muse is going to drain, and because she was out looking.
His niece.
Niece. Yeah. In the comic book, she becomes the White Tiger, and so I think that's kind of where it's going to lead to. But I would have liked to see.
I can see it going that way.
I would have liked to see more of the White Tiger as a vigilante, doing some stuff, maybe even a team up with Daredevil and him doing some more stuff. But what apparently happened is before the reshoots happened, he passed away, so he wasn't even available for that. So. Yeah, that was kind of I didn't hear it from everybody, but some of the people did talk. I was like, oh man, that sucks, because that to me was like, oh, that's a cool part of the story, and then it just kind of went nowhere. It turned into a nothing burger. Same thing with the Muse stuff. I think really turned into I was like, oh my god, this could be so cool, and then it really just fell off. Now, and this is the one thing that really, it's weird because the original series had great fight scenes. Like, it's known for the hallway fight and some of the others. I think she's outside. Granddaughter interrupting, and between her and the cat, I can never get a podcast done, I swear. It's all good.
She's getting so big now. It's great.
So in the originals, the fight scenes were so good, and this one, it's like they tried to amp them up to get the same thing, but in a way they made them almost too over the top. Like that first scene with Bullseye coming in and him fighting Daredevil after he shoots Foggy, and it's interesting if you watch in the background. Some of the stuff that Bullseye does is really crazy. Like, there's a portion of the scene where he grabs a cue ball off the table while he's facing Daredevil. He throws it behind him, bounces it off 2 walls, and hits a woman in the head to kill her. and he's not even facing her. But that's his kind of power, is he could do all this cool shit. What I didn't like about it, though, is in the end, Daredevil has like 9 or more fucking knives sticking out of his chest and his back and and I'm like, he doesn't have super healing. He doesn't have this super strength. He doesn't have this, immunity to weapons and damage, but the amount of beating they're doing to each other is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's almost a contradiction to the way they've established the series up until now. That I thought it was cool when Bullseye spit the tooth out of his mouth, but I also thought it was ridiculous and too far-fetched for what had been established in this universe. You can't just spit a tooth out. I know it's probably something the character can do in the comics.
No, they kind of did that originally in the first one too, that he can turn anything into a weapon.
Yeah, but spitting there's something superhuman about spitting a tooth as a bullet. Because the guy goes flying backwards.
Okay. Well, there's that. I mean, yeah, it could have just been the pain, because I think the idea is he shot it through his eyeball enough at the right trajectory that it bounced off and rattled around in his head, and he just reacted. That's what I'm going with, is Bullseye can turn anything into a weapon.
That's fair. Okay.
But
I don't know where Omi is.
She's looking for my wife.
Oh, I thought she was trying to add some information about the violence in
no but with Bullseye in that one, but it was the amount of beating that he took. Like he's not super powered either in his strength.
Sure.
So the amount of hits he took, like, it just was ridiculous. Now he takes that kind of beating. Muse takes that kind of same beating, and they just keep coming back. But a regular beat cop, are not a beat cop, but the thug cops that are then they're one punch and they drop kind of thing. And I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have these guys that are kind of tough guys that are probably in the gym all the time, that probably are doing Muay Thai and fighting, and you punch them once and they fall, but then you punch, Poindexter, Bullseye 50 times and he still walks away. Or Muse, you get in this big huge fight where they're hitting each other so many times and it doesn't phase them.
Yeah,
that was where I had a problem.
This was one where the smaller fights actually, I think, packed a bigger punch. Like that little scene when the cops come to his house. Is it his house or something? And he has to take him out really quick, and it's kind of fast.
He's in the apartment of the guy that they killed, and he was investigating. Yes,
I liked that. I thought that was good, but it was condensed. It didn't feel like it drug on, which is different, because in those early Netflix seasons, it was those long, drawn-out sequences that were so epic to watch, the choreography and stuff. But they were more grounded.
Those were cool because it was like he was taking punches and having an effect. He was hitting guys once or twice, and they're going away, and coming back. Not these guys that are getting, punched in the face and then kneed in the back, and then they brush it off like it was nothing, and that was and he's also using his batons now, which would pack even a bigger punch.
And they also added a little bit of CG when he was like jumping around on the buildings. It looked like old Spider-Man, with the computer generated Matt Murdock.
That is comic book accurate when you get into it, where he would actually kind of swing through the city with his batons and the strings, and I get where they were going. They're kind of trying to fanboy the comics a little.
But it worked so well in the Netflix one, and maybe I'm just, hoping for the old way. But it just it was a formula that worked for this character. It was something more grounded, and
well, that's what it was. It was. Yeah. So what I look at is Netflix is Daredevil, right? That is the true original. That's the cool Daredevil. What we got on Disney was like the Temu or Wish version of Daredevil, where it's almost the same, but there's just something off.
Well, I mean, Netflix also brought us Defenders, and some of the series that just didn't work.
That's a good point. Good point.
So it's not, but Daredevil was their masterpiece, and I think season 3 was my favorite. So. Just the fact that you can get even better with seasons, that sets this one up to where it's like, hey, they should be able to pull something off here.
And they tried to do the grounded stuff with Fisk, right? He's kind of more, he's trying to be the mayor, and it's less this over the topness and a lot of dialogue and a lot of back and forth. But it also came off a little weird too.
It kind of came off awkward, which I thought, well, maybe that's something they're going for. But because he didn't feel like he had found his footing, and that is fair. But you know, I missed some of his confidence and stuff, and you know, you didn't see that. You kind of saw those weird expressions on his face, which is something that Vincent D'Onofrio brings to the role, which adds a little nuance. But here it just looked almost like he was passing wind or something. It just didn't fit. It didn't fit with the dialogue, or they didn't have the script to back it up. Or maybe this was just part of the shuffling of the storylines, where they were taking scenes that meant one thing when they shot it, and now trying to cram those into this new storyline, and it didn't quite match up, but it was close, so they just left it, and then we're left thinking he's passing wind.
No, I see what you're saying. It didn't work as well.
I mean, I wonder if they had like changed the characterization of Kingpin. Like, you have him in the beginning, he's separated from his wife, and he wants to run for mayor, and he talks about how he's going to clean up the town. I mean, maybe they originally had him where he was trying to go straight, because I mean, he does have
that's
the
part of the comics.
He does have the meeting with Matt in the restaurant, where he's kind of like, all right, let's just call a truce. And
that was episode 1, right? Wasn't it? That might have been.
It's 1 or 2. It's early.
1 or 2, yeah. But anyway,
that was it.
So like what Steve said, he may have been trying to play it like, this is Kingpin, feeling a little guilty and trying to figure out what a normal person would do in these situations, which is kind of an interesting idea. But yeah, that they kind of let the ball drop.
Here's something too. Usually actors, act with chemistry in mind. And if they cast someone else in the role of his wife, maybe they had a different chemistry, and that came out in his performance, in how he portrayed it.
Maybe.
And then suddenly you switch that and you bring scenes where he's, talking to someone else, where they've kind of developed a different chemistry, and it didn't quite match with when they got the same actress to return from the original series. And
that's possible.
Yeah.
It was interesting that they, and I'm glad they brought her back. That I think one of the things that didn't work with this show too is we got the sub-in side characters, right? We didn't have Karen, and we didn't have Foggy. We got, Kirsten and Cherry, who just never lived up to being, the same level of like, I care about these people, or they're in Matt's life enough that it really matters. And so he was kind of off on his own a lot. And
and like Heather and
she was horrible.
Yeah, she almost.
I was gonna say she was. I cannot. I mean, what's the attraction he has to her? I mean,
there was zero chemistry.
No chemistry, and also this is a guy whose previous 2 girlfriends were Elektra and She-Hulk. And it's like. So seriously, it's like I could see him like maybe having something for Karen or somebody that he'd known for a long time, but just like set up on a blind date, and suddenly he's like, "Oh, let's try and make this work." Nah.
Yeah, no, there was zero chemistry there. I think so. The way they have her playing out, and I think this is what's going to happen is she's the Wish Harley Quinn, right? She's the doctor that treats a psycho in Fisk, and then becomes infatuated with it, and then becomes a villain herself. Maybe. So it's like that.
And it's possible they shot more sequences with the 2 of them that established a better chemistry, but what we saw was not that, unfortunately.
So you want to talk about the worst set of chemistry, and also one of the worst takes on the entire show that kind of ruined me a little bit on this whole thing, is the black tie affair, where she's waiting for him and he shows up late, and she's kind of like, "Oh, you finally show up." And he's like, "Well, I tried to find you, but everybody's wearing the same, perfume. Just nothing's going." They dance. You got Matt Murdock is talking to Vanessa and telling her, "I know what you did," while Heather's dancing with Fisk. and all this, and then he hears the gun get ready to fire and takes a bullet for Fisk.
That was the new writers too. So because that was episode 8. So
made no sense. Horrible writing, horrible chemistry with all the characters. It just, not only that, but Bullseye taking forever to aim. The guy should have been able to shoot without even looking. That's his power.
Yeah.
Is to just be able to throw something and it fucking goes where he wants. Or, they talk about it's in the bullets too. When they first show him with the guns, he's shooting all this and every one is a bullseye. Hence the name.
Yeah.
But it's like, I literally watched that episode and I was like, what have you done to this? You've. Oh,
well, it was
so
also
bad.
kind of sad how his wife Fisk's wife just took over the company prior and like cleaned it up and made it all work most efficiently and really kind of reduced everything he had done to it emasculated Fisk a little bit. He just, I took care of it in your absence and now it's better than it's ever been. What does that even mean? I mean, I don't know. That was almost offensive to me that they wrote it that way.
I don't know if that's what happened in the comics with Fisk, because I mean, he was supposedly in prison, so in a way, she steps up and keeps it going. I get that.
Yeah.
And also, did you notice that Vincent was a little bit thinner as he came back in this role? He didn't fill out his suits quite as much. I think the food in prison just was not up to his standard, and we see him eating quite a bit in this. I think he's trying to get back to his Fisk weight.
I think that's actually something that's said in the dialogue right off the bat when we first see him. It's like, oh, you've got some smaller suits on now or something like that. But here's a silver lining in that we have season 2 coming out, or season 1.5 or whatever they're going to call it, episodes 10 through 18. But that's going to be all wholly tied to these new writers. I think they've recycled, they've gone through all the old footage, integrated it enough, and now they can, as long as they can kind of start from scratch, or I mean, they can take. I
hope we get a more consistent story of whatever they're going to tell.
Something where you have a vision of everything's being performed as it's seen, rather than trying to shuffle these.
My problem with the new team is they're the ones that gave us the over the top, not great fight scenes. Another fight scene that kind of just doesn't make sense to me was the Frank Castle Punisher and the bad cop fight at the end, where he goes to Red Hook or whatever, and he goes in there with a pistol and a knife just to go head to head with these guys, and there's like 800 of them, and he just ends up getting his ass kicked. I mean, he kills like 50 of them.
I didn't understand the motivation behind that. How he just like
exactly. That's not him. He's not a. He's a psychopath, but he's not I'm going to walk into a trap because I know it's a trap. He's a calculated. He would have stayed back, just sniped those motherfuckers for a while until he knew what he was doing, or gone in and blown the whole fucking place up. He's not dumb enough unless he's trying to get himself killed. And I don't buy that. It didn't make sense at all. But I think it was like, oh, we need an over the top violent Punisher scene with him telling, and this is a, I didn't see it as this way, but other people were saying it. This was a politically driven portion of the writers to say for the Punisher to tell the cops that have taken his emblem as their own that, hey, I don't like you guys. You guys are assholes.
That's actually been in the comics. That was a whole storyline in the comics. So I can see that though.
Yeah, no, I understand him not. He definitely is like he doesn't believe in bad cops, and that's exactly what these guys are. They're they're not answering for their stuff and using his emblem and stuff like that. But he's not dumb enough to just go up and try and take on 80 of them by himself with a knife and a pistol.
I see what you're saying. So so it doesn't drive his motivation.
Yeah, like he's not. Well, also the jumping out of the 4-story building and walking away, both of them, and the day after Daredevil got shot.
I didn't get that because it seemed like they jumped across the street, because you see over the.
He landed on a car.
He landed on a car. So my assumption was that Daredevil had
swung.
Had swung on something, like, because you see him grab hold of the Punisher and like raise his hand. So maybe he swung, but we didn't see it. We just saw the car smash.
But it's also like supposedly 12 hours after he was shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said this when we did the Netflix series. In the comics, he's been hit with chemicals that kind of enhance his senses and also cause him to, to be stronger and heal faster. And they have never brought that up in the series, and I really wish they would. It would just solve so many problems.
Well, wait, you're talking about Daredevil.
No, they did.
They did that with his eyes, but I don't know about the other stuff.
Well, they had that the chemicals caused him to go blind, but he developed like the whatever it is, the echolocation or whatever, through study and meditation with Stick.
No, I think they actually say. I mean, I don't know if they come out and say it, but you're supposed to understand. We're all supposed to be comic book fans. They don't have to feed us everything.
Yeah,
that we're supposed to understand that the chemicals do part of it.
Yeah, I wish they would just like say that's what it is, because it's, because Stick had the same powers.
Kind of like they did with Stick wasn't. He was born blind and kind of developed his through meditation, so he wasn't as good. But he was also older and had done it longer, so it's kind of like he was a sensei, but he would never be as good as Matt could end up being. But we go back to the Defenders, right? You got a group of people that they explained how Luke Cage became invincible. They kind of give the Iron Fist, it's this mystical power that he got from a dragon, or whatever. Jessica Jones, I can't remember what they said with her. They kind of
it was like a experiment that they did on the kids. Okay, so
so I think they're just kind of saying, okay, yes, we show the chemicals. We're not going to go and tell you it. And it gave, they're not going to give us a character sheet and says his strength went up by +2 and his.
Well, maybe it's more from the person's point of view, because it's not like they can go and check in a clinic and say, "What's my superpower?" and get a printout. They're kind of blind as well, not just literally, but
it's kind of they don't even talk about it. He just says, I'm blind, I was orphaned, and it's like. If you didn't read the comic book, you might assume he was born blind himself or whatever. Because
actually, if you didn't even go back and watch the original 3 seasons before this, you would be like how is he even like? They don't explain, So there's a little bit of that too. I just wish they'd be a little bit more consistent with if he has healing powers, state it, because he doesn't in the comics. Right. He doesn't heal faster than normal. He gets his ass kicked and he just deals with it. His suit's supposed to help with some of that.
Is this a criticism with this season or just overall with Daredevil?
With this season mostly because of the overtop violence in like getting shot and then the next day swinging from a building carrying Frank Castle.
But you got to admit that that's got to be a consequence of the fact that it was written originally as a whole reboot, and then they shoved it into a season 4, extension, and they tried to merge them. So
I think it's the new writers have gone over the way they deal with all the fighting. The Poindexter and him fight, right? They're both they both are on a superhuman fighter level.
That's true, and those are all done by the new writers, not the
Muse fight is the one that I don't know if that was new or old writers, because that's another one where they at least try and explain like how Muse is an artist that can fight pretty decent, because he had he trained under Taekwondo when he was 4 under the best sensei ever, and apparently then killed him when he was a teenager because he didn't want to do Taekwondo anymore.
But that was all one story in like 15 minutes.
I know.
That was.
I know.
It was an interesting character, but it seemed like it needed more than just one therapy session.
I would have rather them like instead of had him actually fighting, like been this fucking psycho dude, but he finds ways out of it without like be more of a Riddler type character from Batman where. Riddler gets out of shit because he outthinks Batman and tricks him and gets out. He doesn't fucking go toe to toe.
Yeah, and that could have been part of what they were originally doing. Well, it's they had that canned episode in the middle, the bank heist, which
I actually liked that.
I did too.
I was gonna say that was my favorite episode.
It was. When I watched it, I'm like, okay, I can get into this, but it is certainly. It's separate. What do they call that when it's like a
bottle episode?
A bottle episode.
Bottle episode.
Yeah. And they brought back the guy from the Marvels, the dad, and he was amusing. Kind of kept talking up his daughter, of course. But I
thought that was hilarious. That he's like had a special Funko made, and it's actually the Funko that you can buy.
Right. Yeah.
When I watched that episode, I thought, well, man, this is almost a good formula on how to just kind of continue moving forward, rather than maybe get away from the whole long season that kind of you sprinkle in an overarching story, but then you have these bottle episodes with every single one that kind of doesn't always have to focus on Daredevil. It can focus on.
But that's what they could have done. This could have been 9 bottle episodes. Or even like say like you take 2 of them and they're 2 episodes that like a comics, 2 comics back to back are dealing with White Tiger. He beats up somebody and Daredevil is like, oh shit, I got to stop this guy. But then he finds out that he tracks him down. They have a fight and they end up talking and realizing like, oh, he's kind of a good guy. That could have been 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Muse could have been 2-3 episodes. It's like, oh shit, this, there's this.
It almost kind of was. I mean, there was sort of hinted at it before, like with the murals and stuff. But the actual where you saw him and he was doing stuff was really just 2 or 3 episodes.
Right. But that's what I mean is like, I understand. I almost would have rather it been like a whole episode dedicated to it instead of like 10% of this episode we see a little bit of this and then 10% of that episode. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. It's like it should have been more. It should have been more separate.
I wonder if that was what it could have been originally like that.
It might have.
It could have been more bottle episodes, all tied with this kind of background story, and yet there was such a backlash at recasting, at how they had recast everything, that they just.
And then you end up, you end up then with the other story is Fisk and his mayor run and him opening, and getting his task force, his vigilante task force, which is kind of, I get it. He's making vigilantes to take out vigilantes, it's which I don't understand why the people are so okay with Fisk. They're like, you're basically saying that you don't want Daredevil, but he has been the hero for the people. Like you would think the people would go, no, that's the wrong call, buddy.
Are you guys familiar with the comics, with that comic story?
A little bit.
Because
I did go. I did read either the Marvel Wiki or something that this is supposed to be the Born Again, which was done by Frank Miller, which is apparently praised by people like as one of the better Daredevil series and storylines. Definitely a different storyline for Karen Page. She's not the squeaky clean reporter or whatever she is on this. She's actually a druggy porn star that comes back.
Okay.
Well,
I'm glad they didn't do that.
So what apparently happened is she ended up going out and becoming an actress, getting hooked on heroin, then falling from being an actress, ended up doing porn in Mexico. And to keep her heroin habit going, she sold her secret of Matt Murdock being Daredevil to get a heroin hit. And then someone then sold that information all the way up to Fisk. And that's how Fisk found out Matt Murdock was Daredevil. Not only was she that, but she came back and she had AIDS. So
Go Frank.
I am so glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, that's such a departure from what we've already seen if they're going to keep the same characters. Yeah. I heard some rumors that the way they portrayed Fisk in this was almost politically motivated to kind of, tap into the anti-Trump energy and which I don't know if that's the case.
It was written so far before the election. I think that it's kind of just people pushing an agenda that they want to match it. But he's a villain that ran for government.
So much of the casting of that of some of these new characters seemed agenda driven. As far as they just were poorly written and.
Well,
diversity casting.
Yes.
And which I don't mind diversity casting. I'm all for it, but it's like, damn it, write the characters. Don't. It's almost embarrassing that these are good actors that can deliver performances if you're going to write them well.
I don't. Sure. Yeah, I don't think you can blame it on diversity casting. I think you're right. I think it was just poor writing and
poor writing for sure. There was no person that got the job just because of their color of skin. I think they wrote the characters as a.
This is stuff that I heard. These are the trolls on the internet.
Yeah, you could have brought in anyone to play. What was the woman's name who was his partner?
Heather
Kirsten.
Kirsten. Yeah. You could have brought in anyone to play Kirsten, and she still would have been completely underwritten.
Same with Cherry. Cherry was a horrible written character.
But these were characters that were meant to kind of replace Foggy and Karen,
I know,
which were so well written and so.
Here's the other thing. I don't know if those characters were part of the comics ever.
Okay, well,
I don't think they were, especially not in the.
Yeah. Okay. But
so Karen and Foggy had some. Even though the Karen page of the Born Again written comic was crazy. Foggy has been a part of Daredevil from far back, so people have always been huge Foggy fans. Karen was also in and out, and I believe they end up getting married at some. She's not just a Mexican porn star heroin addict. She's more than that. That's just one portion of the one story written, but
we have layers. We all have layers.
Yeah,
we all
she's
have
an onion.
But she was a. If you go back to like the original series, the way they introduced her, she was just like
a naive girl.
She's like, I'm gonna try and help these guys out to pay off my debt to them. But then she became involved in like some of the cases and proved herself to be very capable and very canny about the way she researched stuff and everything, and the same with Foggy, you had like they'd been friends since law school, and so when you bring in these new characters, it's kind of like we were friends before. Yeah, that's right, we were friends, and it's like I don't see it. Yeah.
Well, and then, Deborah Ann Wall, who plays Karen, is just an incredible actress, and she's so well liked.
Yeah.
And she won people's hearts in those first series, that first season.
As ridiculous as
they gave her time to develop a relationship with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When she makes her appearance in episode 8, when she pops out of the car and which I kind of rolled my eyes, but at the same time, my heart melted. It's like, oh, Karen's back. And, the way she just delivers her lines and you're like, I'm there for you. Anything you say.
Oh my God. You nailed that though. It's like, I roll my eyes, but at the same time, my heart just melts.
And well, what is it? One of the things I read online, somebody said, it's very subtle, but when she sees Frank Castle for the first time, and
the heartbeats,
and Matt kind of gives this look, and he's like, he can tell that their heartbeats are speeding up when they see each other, and it's like, so I see, and it's but I mean, that worked. That worked with her and with Frank, and because I think they're like, well, we need some new characters, but they didn't like develop them in any meaningful way.
No, well, and they didn't give them anything to do. They kind of handcuffed them in a way that they really just never became much. And I think that's the biggest problem. And it's sad that that's the case, because they have so many good characters and could be like, if they gave them something to do. And I think it's the way the story's rolled out. The Fisk thing for me, I'm not buying it. It's not, it's not as interesting. I did like his little his mini me the kind of young guy who
is that Buck?
No, Buck
that's the fixer. No, this is right. What is his name?
He's the kind of like
Daniel Blake, the protege.
Maybe, yeah. Yep.
I think so, yeah.
He's a son of a famous actor. I can't think of the name.
Gandolfini, from
from Sopranos.
Thank you.
That's his kid. So he was one of those ones where at first when they introduce him, like, oh, this is going to be an annoying character, but he grows on you because he acts the shit. It's almost he reminds me of seeing a high school or a college play where you got one person that kind of just a little bit over the top, and you're like, oh my God, he's throwing a little too much into it. He has that energy, but it works because that's that guy. Like it's an intern in a political thing where he's like, I'm getting my foot in there, and I'm
There's that scene at the party, which I agree with you, that where he goes up to the woman that he totally screwed over. He forced her into writing an article. He blackmailed her into writing an article, threatened her into writing an article, and then he goes back and talks to her like nothing's happened. She's like, no, you don't have a right to do this, and he totally kind of charms his way out of it, out of the moment. And then they're just friends again. And the way he just leans into that charm, like, oh no, I got this. You're right. He delivers a good performance in that role. That's a good call.
Yeah. So that's another character that's that BB Ulrich, who's supposed to be the Gen Z, media person. The influencer, your favorite, Steve, influencer.
Yeah.
And just horror, like it's just it doesn't make sense. But yeah, that interaction between them, you're kind of like, who's playing who? Are they really friends? And they're just kind of both trying to get their side of it off. Like what's going? It was well played. It was interesting to see. Maybe that develops into something, but as it is right now, she's a kind of nothing burger for the show. I mean, other than they do her little clips, you're like, oh, that could have saved me 5 minutes. I didn't need to see all that.
I mean, it kind of seemed like they were going somewhere with it, and then it just kind of dropped.
Like I said, I think originally they were trying to do a more courtroom drama, Matt Murdock show. And Disney came and said, no, we need a little more Daredevil in our Daredevil show.
Maybe. I was so disappointed.
When you were saying, like, you wanted more Moon Knight in the Moon Knight. And, and that was, but I don't know. I kind of liked the courtroom stuff. I mean, some of it was a little far-fetched.
Some of it was good.
But I think Charlie Cox is such a good actor and is really, he really sold it. So
I think they need to balance it, though. Like, if it was all courtroom, I think people would start to kind of fall off.
Well, it depends on how it's written. Because here they leaned into kind of that whole maudlin, oh my God, I don't want to be Daredevil anymore. I'm all depressed and stuff because, and it gets tired. It's like, how many times have you gone through that same storyline?
Well, this was supposed to be the big one. This was supposed to be the one where he everything is down. Like he wasn't, that's the other thing is they didn't show him. So like in the comic books, after he has his downfall, he has a downfall. I mean, he is in the gut. He's not out winning court cases. He's not even showing up for court cases. He is like in the dregs. And so it's not just his Daredevil side of it. It's his whole life is, on the downside. And so it's got to be more than just oh, I'm not out beating people up, so I'm missing this little section of my life, but the rest of it's going great. No, everything. And they tried to do that where he couldn't even win the guy that stole the fiddle faddle or whatever. He couldn't even win that case. And it's like, so they tried to show it, but it didn't come out right. And I just don't know. I agree with you. The courtroom scenes could be good because we did have the one where with the white tiger, and it started to go pretty good, except for they blew it with him using the line over too much. I just did the right thing. I did it because it's the right thing. Say it once, say it with some meaning. Don't beat it over our heads. And then when Punisher, Frank Castle, asks him why did you take a bullet for Fisk? They had the line. I did it because it's the right thing to do, because it's the right Christian thing to do, which is this whole supposed to be born again thing, right?
Ooh, damn.
And he doesn't even bring that. He goes, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know why I did it." Are you kidding me?
Well, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not ready to admit it yet. Maybe that's because we're only at episode 9 of an 18-episode season. If that's what they're doing, I agree with you though. Yeah, it did not seem like they were following. They were dropping storylines or dropping events that had relevance, and then suddenly they call them on it and they don't choose to pursue it. It's like, let's drop it. Yeah. Let's go away.
They almost don't know their own story is what I think is kind of going on a little bit.
What about what you guys think about our Gimp Adam in the underground torture chamber that is imprisoned? I guess this is
that's what's her name? Vanessa's lover.
Yeah,
dude had it rough.
That was very disturbing.
Well,
that was very disturbing.
It was, but it also was probably one of the better part of the Fisk story to me, because it's behind the doors and Fisk told Vanessa, I won't kill him, right?
Yeah.
And so it's him not killing him, but putting him through a personal hell. That is what Fisk is to me. That was like, that was way more than some of the other shit he did.
How did you guys, were you guys surprised when Vanessa shot him in the end? To me, not at all. It was kind of like, okay, finally, I get it.
You mean where she set the guy up to shoot him?
No, when she shoots Adam, when she kills Adam.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it was like, okay, we're there already. It's like, I wish that was built up a little better, if they kind of played us a little.
I wish it had been built up a little better, but was definitely something that she needed to do.
Yeah, it was a good storyline. I just think it was a little
to show like she's completely corrupted. Any goodness that she had in her is gone.
But she should have dressed him up in all leather and like
put him
in a box, throws him in the dungeon with the Pulp Fiction cast, and then.
I knew she was 100% bad in the very beginning when she's running the table. I already knew she was corrupt and gone. Like she had we knew that from the original seasons. I think it's season 2 where, Fisk is telling her all the shit he did. And she's like, yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah. That's part of her attraction to him.
Yeah. So what I didn't get, though, and this is what kind of threw me, and I'm still not 100. So we got, I think it was, what was his name? Buck? No, Buck was the guy who shot him, but Luca. Luca comes to her and says, hey, this is what's, and she's like, you asking me permission, or are you asking me to assist, right? Of killing Fisk. And then she texts Luca where he's at. He's alone,
right,
when he has his dinner, and then Buck shoots him with the silencer. Was that a setup that she knew about and sent him in to get killed?
I didn't know.
I don't think anybody knows. They never really played it off whether, and it's like so are they, everybody, like a lot of people were talking. I listened to some of the podcasts that did episode by episode. So episode 1, 2, 3, and people were like speculating, was it going to be Vanessa versus Fisk in the end? Was it, were they going to go head to
that would've
head
been
against each other.
interesting.
And I think that was maybe what was trying to be played out. And I still don't know if that is she still playing him, you know, that it's kind of like you
sure, because he
play
now
the
feels
role.
comfortable. He finally gets that
Yeah.
smile on his face at the very end when he's sitting down to dinner with her, and it's like everything's all back to normal. But maybe she is playing him a little bit. Huh? That'd be interesting.
It's hard. It's hard to say. Like
Adam
I
was
don't
just
know
a sacrifice. I'm going to kill him. I don't care about him, but it'll prove my worthiness to my husband. But in reality, it's just he's just a throwaway lover.
She's just sacrificing another toy for the ultimate goal.
Sacrificing a toy. I like that.
That's where I mean, to me, it's like Fisk is such a good character in a way, but he's also can be a very boring character because he's trying not to get his hands dirty. We get a lot of great speeches out of him, but he's and there's the action isn't there.
Well,
he's not
Vincent D'Onofrio brings a lot of complexity to the character, but there wasn't much complexity written in this season. So, or at least it wasn't well defined. I think he tried to add some complexity, but again, if the script's going all over the place, if it's being rewritten, then there's nothing to hang on to for an actor.
And we saw that too with his other roles, like in Echo. That was one of the things we brought up in Echo. Is like
that was a low,
he's such a
point.
Good actor, but it's such a poorly written portion for what happens.
And it almost seems like I don't know if they wrote that out of this, because I mean he doesn't have a scar anymore.
Well, they do say something. He goes, there is a line where he's like, "Oh yeah, I got shot in the face," or you.
But that's
came
Hawkeye.
back from that face.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was Echo that he got shot in the face.
Was it?
Isn't it? No, it's Echo that he gets shot in the face.
I thought Echo shoots him at the face at the end of Hawkeye, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
Oh, you're right. It is at the end of Hawkeye, and then he shows up and he forgives her.
Okay.
I think
you should know. You've seen Hawkeye how many times?
About 6 or 7. I love that show. It's so good. But I've only watched Echo once. I can give you that much. I know that.
So how many times have you seen him get shot?
Now it's got to be Hawkeye then, because I have seen it a couple times. So it is at the end of Hawkeye.
One of my favorite actors from Better Call Saul is Tony Dalton, who plays Lalo Salamanca epically in seasons 3, 4, 5, and 6. And he plays the swordsman in this. He was in Hawkeye, and what a letdown in this. It's almost like he was reduced to just, I don't know, next to nothing. He's such a charming and potent character in Better Call Saul, and he kind of here it almost seems like just a parody of that. I was really disappointed with that.
Here's what I think happened is he was kind of a throwaway character in Hawkeye as the swordsman, right? He plays a really good. We're going to give him a character that's the stepfather, but we're also going to make him a comic character in the swordsman, and kind of all plays together. And at the end, he's kind of doing his thing. Well, they show him doing a little bit of the vigilante thing as the swordman here, and he also stands up to Fisk in that little shakedown for money meeting.
Right.
And then they show him in the cage. I don't know if let me get back to what he was a throwaway character in Hawkeye, and I think people loved him so much, partly because of the actor, that they're like, oh, people like this guy. We're going to show him. And so it's a cameo to kind of tie things in. But yeah, I think they did do him a little dirty. Now, Punisher, right? Frank Castle gets out of there, which, like I said, fucking, I don't know what. Apparently he has a spinoff coming. So I think that's where it's setting up for that.
A Punisher spinoff?
Yeah.
Like Punisher season 3? Is that what you mean? Like,
kind of, yeah. Okay. Like someone, what do they call it? A vignette or something. It's going to be like a little mini series or something. I think where Punisher's going to go in and whoop ass on those guys that caged him. But he maybe broke the rest of those guys out. So maybe the swordsman's back out there, or maybe he'll show up in Punisher. You know, I hope
I hope they give him something a little bit more meaty. Because he is really good actor. And
do you remember the guy that showed up in? He was like a kind of criminal that showed up in all of like the different Defenders series, like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. He was the guy that was like selling guns out of the trunk of his car, and then he showed up in like 4 or 5 different series. He was just a little side character.
The black guy. Yeah, I remember. Sure.
I would love the Swordsman to be like that guy where he just kind of is in every season of everybody just for like a little bit of something where he's like, he could just be in the background getting coffee.
They got to give him a little bit more elbow room to have a performance, though, because I don't think the lines they were giving him were much of anything for him to work with.
I thought the interaction between him and Fisk was incredible.
Oh, good.
Because
Well, damn, you should see Better Call Saul then, because
well, here's what I mean: it's a tiny little toss of a character from another show, so that we're getting tie-ins. But it was one of those things. Is like, not everybody is afraid of Fisk, especially people that have a little bit of money and maybe a little bit of power underneath. And he's one of those guys. He's like, I'm not going to be shook down. How I don't know. I've never been.
All of those work. Yes, you're good.
Yes. Anyways, he's like, you can't intimidate me. And then, he gets thrown in the cage, which is also very interesting. It's like just all these people go disappearing and nobody. It's just comic books. Here we go. But anyways, I would love to see him come back and do something.
That could have been the new writers saying, "Look, he was a bigger part of the original series, but we kind of cut him out. Let's put him in the cage so we can give him a more of a presence in season 2 or season 1.5."
It would be really cool is somehow he shows up in the Punisher thing, like Punisher's about to get taken out, and the Swordsman comes in and sap Zorro some dude, and then gives Punisher Frank Castle a wink and goes on.
And I mean, they're doing other things too. Like supposedly there's a Young Avengers series coming. I could see him in that if it takes place in New York.
There's a Hawkeye 2, from what I understand.
Oh, good.
That would be great.
I'm all about that one. Kate Bishop is great. I think. Well, so here was another. Someone brought this up. Like, you look back to great duos in the MCU, and that's what really makes a lot of these shows. You got Cap and Iron Man and just their interactions and them playing off each other. In the miniseries, we had Winter Soldier and Falcon. Like, those two just had a chemistry. Frank Castle and Matt Murdock together, their chemistry is really, really good.
Oh, that's what established in what was it, season 2 of Daredevil on the roof.
Yeah.
That episode was the highlight of that season. And man, yeah.
So speaking of Hawkeye and Kate Bishop and Yelena need to have a buddy show, because the scene with her and talking about the macaroni, like that is one of my favorite scenes in the MCU. Outside, it might be my favorite scene outside of the beginning of Ragnarok, which is
nice.
I watched that more than anything ever. But I just talk about chemistry. I think that's why they brought more Frank Castle into this one too. At the end, I just didn't like his terror setup on the but I think that was also them setting up their little spin-off, so
yeah,
it's hard to say.
I think a lot of it is you can put in who were good actors also.
Oh, for sure.
Like Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld are both amazing actors,
right?
And the same Charlie Cox is really fantastic. And
Bernthal,
when he's I was going to say when he's playing off John Bernthal or Vincent D'Onofrio, it's like it's just electric.
Yeah, they'd have some good actors in this, and we see it with the side characters that aren't so great. Not to say they're not great actors, but you give a so-so actor a horrible script and it doesn't come off. You give a great actor a so-so script, they could probably do something with it.
But what Nina said is so right. Chemistry, two people together, that's not always a gimme. If you find two characters, like you say with your macaroni scene, where something meshes, lean into it. Do some more stuff, because the actors are going to bring the chemistry more, and that's what I love. The chemistry that comes out. I mean, that's what I think the original Avengers was so good at, was they brought all these different characters that kind of, you had your Thor from Asgard, a god, and then you had Iron Man, who was just a scientist, but you throw them together and you see how that chemistry works. And that was what was magic about that movie, was the chemistry that
it was. Well, and it was the interactions between them. You get that that's scene chemistry. on well, what I'm saying is the writing that they did with it too. Like you get the scene with one of my favorite scenes, and this is where I think the tie between Iron Man and Cap is when they're on the carrier and Loki's got them all getting frustrated. He's like, "What are you without the suit?" And it's like that scene. You're like, "Oh, dude, these guys are about to go at it," and they're like, "Wait, what's going on here?" Suit up. It's just a lot of fun. I don't know.
I think one of the great things about the MCU in general, more in the movies but in the shows too, is I think the actors all tend to like each other, like they're friends.
True.
Like like I've been reading interviews with Thunderbolts coming up, and
that looks so good.
We have tickets for Friday. I'm so excited.
That's great.
But like Sebastian Stan, he and Anthony Mackie are good friends outside, and Mackie is like, "Hey, when we're shooting Doomsday, where are you going to stay?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I haven't figured it out yet." He's like, "Why don't we share a house?"
Yeah.
And
no,
like,
those two. Well, that's what made Falcon and Winter Soldier so good.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the scene that set that up too was it was in one of the Captain America movies where they're in the bug and he's like sitting. It's when Captain America's talking to Sharon Carter.
Yeah, it's Civil War.
Yeah. And he's in the back seat and he's like, "Oh, is he gonna get that?" There's just something about that, and you're like, "Oh, it's just so perfect." It's funny you talk about that too. Thunderbolts coming out. I'm half bummed and half delighted because I'm going camping this weekend, so I'm going to miss the opening weekend of Thunderbolts.
But the chemistry looks great with those characters. That's something they've really sold
exactly.
In the trailers. Yeah.
But I was thinking, looking at different series, starting off the series wise, you had WandaVision, which had Wanda and Vision. The name WandaVision, but they played off each other so well, and they really liked each other, and they made it. The Hawkeye series, you had Hawkeye and Kate Bishop that they played really well together. Characters, they just did so well. When you have an individual person in a show like Moon Knight doesn't have anybody to play off of. I wonder if that hurts that show
Well, it was Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. Some of the best scenes were when he was alone talking to his computer. He had chemistry with the artificial intelligence that was AI. And he could carry those scenes in a way and there was a certain chemistry to that.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Downey Jr., I said this, about the Iron Man movies, is they really take advantage of the fact that they have like one of the greatest actors of his generation playing Iron Man, and Tony Stark. Like they really...
Well, they took a shot on him that paid off.
Yeah,
like
it fit the role. It absolutely fit the role, yeah.
That was a Las Vegas bet that just was 1,000 to 1, and they nailed it.
I mean, here's the thing, even when he was having his troubles with drugs and so forth, he was still really good.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
But that was the shot, is like, hey, this guy's great, but he has some potential to have some issues on the outside. And it's like, studio execs, they look at all that because they have to. I mean, it's if you owned a business and you were hiring someone, you're like, man, that's the best motherfucker for making widgets, and I make widgets, but he's an alcoholic. Can I trust him? You know,
wasn't it Kiss Kiss Bang Bang that kind of like he did that beforehand, and they said, hey, he did this, you know, on the up and up. Let's give him a shot. I think that helped sell his deal with Iron Man. You know,
and he launched the MCU.
Yeah,
essentially.
Sure, because it wasn't incredible. It wasn't the Incredible Hulk. You know the.
No. And you got to give a lot of credit to Jon Favreau too, because he was the one that wrote and directed that, and you know it was.
And he was stubbornly like it's Robert Downey Jr. and I'm not going to do it, or at least he drew a line, and you know maybe he might have backed off if they insisted,
and it wasn't Disney yet either.
True.
Ooh.
I mean, if it had been. I mean, I hate to say that. If it had been Disney, I don't know if they'd have let him take the role.
You're right. They're a lot.
You got a good point.
Well,
I know Disney took over before the end of the trilogy, or not the trilogy, but the three
Avengers.
The Avengers Endgame.
It was after the first Avengers.
Yeah,
right. But what I'm saying is
they had already Robert Downey Jr. had already proved himself. They weren't going to throw him to the curb at that point.
But what I meant is Disney didn't have they had written all this, not hardcore every word, but they had the story laid out. This is where it's going. Yeah. This is what we want to do.
Yeah,
Disney bought them in the middle of that.
Yeah,
and so they were able to really nail the entire Infinity Saga.
So what do you? I mean, it was still Kevin Feige though. What do you think now is the case? Because Kevin Feige is still the showrunner of the whole MCU. He's still kind of the head of the MCU. Do you think he needs to move on and kind of they need to find?
I don't think it's Feige. I think there's some. I think there's some other people involved. That like Feige was, he was part of the top of that, but he's like I said, they had the lineup. They said, hey, all you got to do, here's my playbook. All you got to do is call the plays. Then that playbook ends, and now they're into the after the Infinity, and we've got some good. WandaVision is after that. It's great. You know, Hawkeye was great. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think was great. Then you get some stuff. Marvel's okay, but not great. You the fuck is the
well. Deadpool and Wolverine is. I mean, that's.
But that was not Disney until the last one.
Eternals,
I know. That's what I said.
Eternals. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Oh God, yeah.
Goddamn Eternals.
Which I thought was the worst thing ever until Secret Invasion aired.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say Secret Invasion. You know, it's like what's that?
That's how much I
remember. I mean, it was. It's hard to be an MCU. It's been hard to be an MCU faithful during this whole thing,
right? And you know, I'm personally one that I thought Moon Knight just didn't. It had so much potential, but didn't come up to it. This is like I said in the beginning when I read that thing about the drink. This had a huge potential, but I don't think it lived up to it.
Are you interested in season 2? I mean, are you?
Okay, so here's the thing. I got about 4 episodes into this, and the only reason I finished it is so that we could do the podcast. It was like one of those
I agree with you. I think I got a little bit more invested in those last couple episodes. They didn't piss me off as much as they pissed you off. I think
and they didn't piss me off. It was just boring in a way.
To me, I thought even the sequence you were talking about with Bullseye shooting on the dance floor, that
one actually did piss me off.
That I know, and that's why I bring this up is because that sequence to me was almost a turning point where it felt, hey, this is a little bit more interesting. I thought I was impressed that suddenly they turned this into a mystery, and now Matt Murdock is solving something. He hears something, and he figures out that Vanessa is related, and they do that little dance swap. All that went down, and that was kind of the most resonant moment of the whole series up to that point where it's like, hey, I'm suddenly engaged. I hear what you're saying about how it just doesn't quite resonate with the characters, the way Bullseye shot and didn't, took his time and stuff. But I thought
that's not his personality either. That was the other thing.
All I'm saying is that was the most effective writing up to that point for me, besides the season, besides the bank episode, which had its kind of own little thing, and then Frank Castle's appearance in episode 4, which I thought just that scene was very well written from a dialogue standpoint. But I got that it was those last 2 episodes that got me re-engaged. So I'm kind of hopeful. Up until then, I thought, oh my God, this is really lousy.
So like I said, I was kind of bored. I wasn't excited to watch the next scene. I wasn't excited to watch the next episode, which is interesting. I know Andor season 2 just dropped 3 episodes, and they're doing like a 3 episode each week kind of thing. I never was able to finish the first season of Andor, so I even went back and tried to get into that again, and I was like, God damn, it's just. I think it's these slow burn sci-fi superhero type shows.
There's a shit ton of stuff out right now.
Doesn't work.
What do we got? We got the new zombie series. We did the first season. The
Last of Us.
The Last of Us season 2's out. We've got Wednesday season 2 dropping soon in August or.
Yeah, it's a little ways out there, but yeah, it's coming.
And I feel like I don't have time for some of this stuff. I'm really way behind the way we're doing things. But we'll get to them eventually. I hope we cover Andor at some point. But if we do, we got to start with season 1. And you're going to be.
I still got to go back and watch it. Like we started, and I guess we're in the middle. And I was like, I don't remember anything that happened to this other than he was working in a factory building, Empire parts. And then now he's on he was on a planet that had some like cool.
Are you spoiling the series for me? Because I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Andor?
No, I haven't seen anything since Boba Fett series season 2. I haven't watched.
You got turned off that bad.
That and Obi-Wan.
You're a Star Wars guy.
I watched the first episode of Obi-Wan, and I'm like, oh my God, this is eye roll.
Yeah, that's the trashiest of all trash. That's worse than Moon Knight. That's worse than the Eternals.
I will say I really liked Andor a lot.
I've heard a lot of people love it.
It was you can't go in thinking there's not a lot of action.
Yeah, but
it's not an action.
I thought you watch it, Steve, and that's
why I want to see it.
To me, Andor, everything I've heard about it, it's you in a bucket.
Absolutely. If I get the time, that's the one I'm going to go to. I saw this little cutscene actually, which I didn't think of intrigue, but it was the guy from Andor. It's the same guy from
Rogue One
pre-Star Wars
Rogue One,
where he's like in a TIE fighter or something like that, and he's in a little and he's starting to shoot everything in a TIE fighter. I think it's from season 2, but it was epic looking. I mean, it looked so exciting.
There were some parts of the episodes I've seen that were kind of interesting, but it's a slow burn, and I'm talking about that so much. Daredevil Born Again is almost a slow burn. Anytime you get Fisk involved, it's a very slow burn type show, and I don't know.
Season 3 was so good, and that was all Fisk, right? See, I'm going back to Daredevil season 3, the Netflix.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to. It's been a while since I watched it. I remember I love it. I don't remember. That was the one with Elektra, right?
That was season 2, and I wasn't a big fan of that one. Season 1 I thought was really good, but season 3 just blew me away. That was the one that had the big brutal brawl with Fisk and Vanessa and
in the
Murdock.
Prison.
In the house at the very end. The prison was I think.
Season 2.
Season 1. Was it season? Okay, maybe. I think
it's season 2. The hallway was season 1. That was the big fight in season 1. Right. Oh, no, it's the stairwell of season 2. That's the big one fight. Anyways.
It's been a while.
For some reason, this Born Again just didn't hit me the way the Netflix did.
I think we're all on the same page, yeah.
Well, you asked if I would watch, if I was interested in season 2, and I go back to what I said at the beginning. As a whole, it did not hang together. But I think there were enough individual scenes and enough, parts of plot lines that were intriguing enough to me that I think if they can get it more cohesive and pull it more together, I think they really have something.
That's my big selling point too, because
keeping my fingers crossed on that.
If season 2 is more cohesive, like you say, you're not doing competing writers, like you had to do with season 1, where they trashed it in the middle and kind of rewrote it and used the same footage. Season 2 sounds like it's more of a clean slate. Let's go with it.
That could hopefully
elevate it maybe.
And also, and I'll say with Marvel shows, whether it's Disney, Netflix, anything, there's a lot of completists out there, and a lot of us that are just, I'll watch whatever you put out there, and that's me. I mean, I've watched Eternals more than twice.
I still haven't seen Punisher season 2 or Jessica Jones season 3. We've never covered those on the podcast, so
I didn't finish Jessica Jones season 3, but Punisher season 2 is really good.
Okay,
I did like that one.
I watched both of them and liked them. So
I heard Jessica Jones. I mean, like I said, you know what? We're supposedly getting all these people back for whatever. They keep telling us they're all coming back. Everybody's involved. Everything's tied together, which is funny because we get a lot of tie-ins, but Matt Murdock nor Daredevil ever talked about She-Hulk. So either he's just putting that off as a drunk night, and I never talk about that again, or
that's typically when you do a walk of shame. That's the way it works, right? You don't return. I don't know.
Wasn't he with her at the end with her family?
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
So I kind of thought they were at least like, okay, maybe it's not love is fair for the ages, but I thought they were at least friends.
Yeah, no, but it's funny how that didn't get brought up in this. Where a lot of other things got at least acknowledged, but the She-Hulk thing never did. So I don't know. She-Hulk is it has its fans, it has its haters, and it has a lot of people that are somewhere in between.
But there's no question it's not unexpected that they didn't mention it, considering the backlash to She-Hulk and the fact that they actually rewrote the entire series of Daredevil because of said backlash towards whether it was that or something else. They're not going to mention it. They're going to stay completely away from it. Which is almost a cop out, but that's
what would have been really good. And this is where I would have liked it. They do some more courtroom scenes, right? And as soon as he drops the white tiger, like he's White Tiger, now all of a sudden that's a supernatural or a superhero type courtroom deal. That's what She-Hulk did. That's what her whole thing was. She comes in and she's at the table with him defending White Tiger, and she's the one that actually gets him off. And then you don't have to acknowledge anything else. Just like, hey, thanks for helping me win this case. Maybe we'll have dinner sometime or a picnic with your family, and then that's all it is. And then you cut to the scene where White Tiger gets shot, and then we go ahead forward with the other stuff. Then you acknowledge it, but it's done in a cool kind of classic way where we're not really acknowledging anything, but we're not acknowledging it.
I think there would have been a backlash.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Yep.
I'm someone that didn't like She-Hulk, and I'm very vocal about what I didn't like about it, and I thought that would have been okay.
I think they leaned into the purist, the Netflix purism, and that was what they were going for. And if they mentioned She-Hulk, that would have been, betrayal.
Well, and that's the other thing is Daredevil is supposed to be that boots on the ground, down and dirty with the people in of Hell's Kitchen. He's not out in the multiverse with everybody else. So maybe that's what they're trying to do, is keep it grounded. So I don't know. We'll see.
Plus cameos.
I'm not looking forward to season 2, but I'll watch it if that makes any sense. Like, I'm not holding my breath waiting for it to come out.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
If it's red meat, you're going to eat it. You're going to.
Right. But then again, things like Thunderbolt, I am so stoked to see that. I've been waiting. That to me is that's one of the top movies coming out this season for me. Like, I think that
I hope it resonates with fans. I'm kind of fearful that it's going to just drop like a turd.
I think Florence Pugh is going to everybody's going to love her again because she is such a good character, and everything she does is so good.
You mentioned this movie earlier, but John Bernthal he just came out with
Accountant
2 with Ben Affleck. That's something that I loved, the first one. I don't think we've ever covered that on the podcast. Have you seen the first one, Noah?
Accountant? Ooh, I don't think I have.
It's damn good. You got to check it out. All right. This is a good. I'm looking forward to 2. I'm gonna try to watch it. And I think they're even planning a third one with who's the Pitch Perfect girl? She was in the first movie. I think she wants to come back for this third movie. She's not in the second one. All right. Anyway,
Pitch Perfect. That's such a good movie. Anyhow, but yeah, Thunderbolts. They have Sebastian Stan, David Harbour, so good. Julia Dreyfus, Louise Dreyfus is in it. I think
it's got a pretty good.
It's got a great cast.
I was going to say it's got a pretty good Rotten Tomatoes rating too.
Oh, has it already got the critics up there? Okay, good.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to have to cover that pretty soon, right? I mean.
Yeah. That'll probably be right after we finish off the Harry Potters. We'll let people. We maybe even jump that in ahead of the Potters.
We probably will if
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, if we wait 3 weeks between Harry Potter 1 and 2. 7.1 and 7.2.
That might be in like 3 weeks from now. I mean, if it's 3 weeks out, it sounds like you're going to see it quickly, Nina. If we can get Bo off his ass and out of the shitter and off to see the movies, and we'll make it happen. Because I plan, hopefully, my goal is to maybe see it Monday night when we get back from camping.
You're going camping, is that okay?
Yeah. Well, so. I don't know if I've mentioned this. My daughter now works at a theater, which, she's already been like, hey, anytime you want to see a movie, just let me know. And so
I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago because we got delayed on our podcast because we had to go watch Goonies.
Yeah, we had to go watch Goonies. So she's like, she literally sent me all the times for Thursday and Friday. And she's like, what time do you want to go? And I was like, oh, I'm going camping. I'm like, okay, well, let's just let me know. And so
tell her to forward them to me.
I have no excuse anymore. I mean, yeah,
I'm her surrogate dad, right?
Exactly. You kind of are, yeah. So, but yeah, we'll be seeing that. We'll get that out there. We got Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 1 coming up next week. Mm-hmm. I'm already about halfway through the book, which I'm enjoying.
Good for you.
I did like you did. I did what you did, Steve. I watched the first one. And then I was like, oh shit, I got to watch the second one because I can't hang on that.
When you say you're halfway through the book, you're up to the point where the first movie is done. Okay.
No, not quite. I'm almost there. I'm like 3/4 of the way through the first movie in the book.
I haven't started it, but that's just because I was trying to finish up the Daredevil. I didn't finish till last night, so I'll get on it maybe later tonight or tomorrow.
I have to say that I wanted to get back to the Harry Potter books rather than listen to other people talk about Daredevil. So
I'm with you. Yeah.
Hopefully that's not the case for our podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. We enjoyed talking to ourselves about it. Hopefully you enjoyed what we had to say. If you have questions, concerns, or even comments, let us know. Hit us up at hwsi. Suggestions, those two. Yeah,
download, rate, and review, as my brother would have said. We're here.
That's right. He's not here. Thank you, Nina.
Yeah. Hit us up on if you're listening to us. The links are always in our notes for all of our different socials and the email.
And we're posting our podcasts, our cocktails now on hwsi.podbean.com. So check those out.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always been fun. I'm looking forward to the next one. I think I even got my drink for next week already, which is probably the earliest I've ever figured out a drink.
Wow. Okay.
I know.
You should go last next time.
I don't know if it's that good.
You keep putting me on the hook, man. Okay.
Go back through all the episodes and tell me who's
a journey with you, though, Steve.
who's nailing it. If you don't believe me, we just recently we have our Monty Python. Steve brought the thunder. Other ones that stand out in my mind, Superman episode brought the thunder. Just always. Okay. All right. Well, with that, all I can say is, blimey, I think I fucked a penguin.
Hail Caesars.
Hail Caesars.
What does that mean?
What the hell was that from? I don't remember that.
That was in the